I don't want to labour the point, but Sir Keir Starmer will likely be our next Prime Minister. And while the Tories have made a Horlicks of the last few years, and whilst I myself have voted Labour in the past, and I don't rule out doing so in the future, let me tell you that 5 years of socialism is not the answer. Take a look at just one policy, Labour's petty and spiteful plan to price poorer families out of an elite education by adding VAT to private school fees. This disastrous and damaging policy hasn't even begun, and yet it's already doing damage. The Times newspaper report that the number of children joining private schools has dropped by the largest proportion in more than a decade, as parents make the judgment they will no longer be able to afford these higher fees. This exodus is expected to grow. Now, you could say that these people are in a decent income bracket, so tough luck. But here's the problem. Where are those kids going to go? These aspirational middle-class families will instead buy properties in affluent areas and take up pupil places at high-quality state schools in the public sector. This will deprive poor kids whose families cannot afford to live in affluent areas from going, for example, to a top grammar or selective school. Poorer kids who don't live nearby or who don't have access to expensive tutors to pass the entrance exams will get shunted to their local Bash Street Comprehensive. Academic experts have also said that this cruel policy will lead to some private schools closing, at which point a flood of these children will need to be educated by the state. And this comes at a cost of almost £10,000 a year to the UK taxpayer per pupil. And what about the impact on little Johnny or little Jane being dragged out of their school and away from their friends and the school community because of a shallow political policy designed to throw red meat to the left of Starmer's party? New state schools will likely need to be built at a cost of billions, which is why Labour's argument that somehow this will be a money spinner is hollower than an Easter egg. Well, this ludicrous policy of taxing education is the brainchild of the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, who, with a brass neck wider than Mike Tyson's, said this week that he wanted to get away from gesture politics. Well, he is the king of gesture politics, with his ridiculous posturing during the pandemic, calling for lockdowns every 10 minutes, at his pretend press conferences where he tried to look statesmanlike. With his endless U-turns, this is a guy that has more positions than the Kama Sutra, with his mental gymnastics over whether only women have a cervix, and of course, most egregiously, when he took the knee to the divisive and discredited cause that is Black Lives Matter. His so-called plan to stop the boats, announced on Friday, is another empty gesture. Putting Starmer in charge of stopping the boats is like handing over the nation's blood supplies to Count Dracula. This guy's policy to crush the criminal gangs is really just a souped-up version of a policy being pursued by the current government, and one which is failing as it is on the continent. Because Starmer did not get the memo that these people traffickers are mobile, they're ruthless, and they have the internet. The king of gesture politics will axe the Rwanda plan, even if it works. Even if it works. Wow. The brilliant Andrew Neil, formerly of this parish, writing in the Mail newspaper this weekend, has dismissed Labour's plans as merely the creation of a new quango. He wrote, a government agency to add to the plethora already dotted all over the place of British state bureaucracy. The people smugglers must be quaking in their shoes. The slow march to a Labour government with a potential landslide which will give them the ability to permanently alter the fabric of this country may be inevitable, but it's regrettable too. The Rwanda plan is already working. Ask the Irish government. There is now momentum in the economy. Inflation is falling faster than Harry Kane in the penalty box. And according to the head of the Office for National Statistics, the economy is going, and I quote, gangbusters. We've got the highest growth in the whole of the G7, ahead of the United States, of Italy, of France, and of Germany. What will Labour do? Boost union power, which means more strikes. They will burden employers with extra costs and red tape and yield to the union barons' inflation-busting, unaffordable wage demands. The Tories have discredited themselves, with Boris Johnson yielding to the prophets of doom at Sage in order to destroy the country with those ruinous and failed lockdowns. And we all know about Liz Truss's mini-budget and her short premiership, which failed to outlive a salad. But we've now finally got a decent Prime Minister who we are about to consign to the dustbin of political history. Something, mark my words, we will come to regret. Yes, the Tories have been awful. But replacing Sunak with Starmer is like replacing your less-than-perfect boyfriend with someone even worse. Someone with tattoos, a motorbike, and who still lives with his mother. Britain has got many problems, but the answer is not a Starmer-led Labour government. I hate to break it to you, but history shows socialism doesn't work. Unfortunately, people have short memories.